The Bank of England is going to face one of its most pressing decisions in months, so we're told. The rate of inflation is down to 2%. Now, that is actually meeting their target for the first time since 2021.
However, the Monetary Policy Committee are expected to hold interest rates at 5.25% until at least after the general election.
Let's talk to former advisor to the Bank of England, Roger Gewolb, who's here. Good to see you, Roger.
Good to see you.
I mean, look, everyone's going, we're hitting the targets. Why are interest rates, base rates, not coming down?
Well, if I may, this is very much tied to, related to, and a part of what you and Tom have just been discussing. I mean, everything that each of you, particularly Tom, has said is absolutely true. And I'd like to preface my comments by referring to a fairly wild prediction that I went public with yesterday on social media, which is that the only way to synthesize all of these ridiculous factors that we're living with today, where we have a choice between continued incompetence and serious irresponsibility, whereas one of my followers posted a choice between stepping in dog muck and cat muck. The only way to reconcile those, and I've posted on X, formerly Twitter, with a video, is for Nigel Farage and Reform to merge with the Tories. And I've predicted a 60 to 70% chance of that happening within the next 14 days. And when you merge with Nigel, you don't...
In the next, well, so pre-election.
Exactly, because otherwise they are going to be wiped out, as I think Tom was alluding to, for generations. I used to receive 2 to 3 conspiracy theory letters per month. I'm now being deluged with Dr. Roger, wake up, smell the coffee. No one, but no one, can be this stupid. This is a conspiracy. This is Davos. This is the Illuminati. This is the Jews. This is the Muslims. This is Lord knows who, one after the Martians. But they all say the same thing. Now, the Bank of England is part of it. We have had, for some years, what's called cost push inflation. And I've spoken about this on this program and many others many, many times, to the point where I wonder why I'm still talking about it. It's non-consumer driven inflation. There's two kinds.
Which means hiking interest rates doesn't bring it down.
No, hiking interest rates in that scenario inflates the inflation and prolongs the time by which it falls by itself, as it has since wheat started to grow in ancient biblical Egypt again. Our food and energy and other prices would have come down long ago, but for those 14 ridiculous interest rates, which, frankly, have wrecked the British economy. Tens of millions of households. There are 500,000 businesses about to go to the wall. Every day I'm contacted with stories of businesses whose borrowings... Wait a minute, Dr. Roger, 5.25% is not... Really? Read the report of Leeds Building Society and others that is the equivalent of a 20 to 25% interest rate in the 80s and 90s, given all the difference in the factors. The Baileyosaurus, because I call him that, he's so thick-skinned, he won't listen to anybody, has a litany of bad judgment behind him. His Monetary Policy Committee, but one, are sycophantic. They were criticized only a couple of months ago by the House of Lords Economic Affairs Committee. Your software is out of date. It's defective. Your methods are defective. You've botched monetary policy and controlling inflation. You've got groupthink, so nobody is allowed to disagree with you. You must change. What's happened? Nothing. Bailey went out and got his friend Bernanke, the former head of the Federal Reserve, to come over and check their homework, if you will. And everybody yelled cronyism. Why didn't you get Andy Haldane, the former chief economist of the bank for 30 years, who's right here in Britain? Well, that's because he doesn't think you should have been raising interest rates. Bernanke, instead of cronyism, takes a look, issues his report, and says this is so bad that he actually drops his friend in it and says, your software doesn't work, your forecasts are horrible, the way you've handled inflation is dreadful, you've got groupthink, same thing as the... Still nothing has happened. Still Fishy Rishi Sunak and Bates Motel Hunt, who, by the way, has not worked 24 hours in his life in any job involving money, finance, or banking, sit there and cheer on Bailey. We're fighting inflation. They're not. They're prolonging it. Finally, how does raising interest rates or keeping them level affect food prices, affect energy prices, and have anything to do with Houthis firing on shipping in the Red Sea?
Heck, Roger. I mean, the problem with all of that is, I mean, because what is so confusing, I was going to say frustrating, but confusing is better, really, is that you've made these points time and time again, and when you explain them, it makes absolute perfect sense. However, if you're right, how can you be right in all of this and the Bank of England Monetary Policy Committee, which is meant to be the group of experts, all be wrong?
Because as the Lords has said, and even as the Bailey-Osiris's bosom buddy, Ben Bernanke, said, you suffer from groupthink. You think diversity is having women and non-binary folks and people of color and this. And no, diversity is people who disagree with you. There's nobody there except Ms. Dhingra who disagrees with them. He's surrounded by sycophants. He did the same thing at the Financial Conduct Authority, his previous job, where he is alleged in the Woodford scandal and the London and Capital debacle to have lost billions and hundreds of billions of pounds for investors by not acting when he should have and acting too late. I don't know how he got his job. My friend Alex Brummer, the longtime city editor of the Mail, said in an exclusive interview with me a few years ago, Mr. Bailey is not an economist and does not have the intellectual capacity for the job. That's on tape, anybody wants to see it. I mean, God knows what he's doing there, but he has been destroying this country for several years. Would you send a football manager onto the pitch for the 14th game with the playbook he used to lose the last 13? I mean, why couldn't they see that nobody's stopping him? And that's Sunak and Hunt, and instead they're cheering him on. Why?
But how could they stop him when it's all in? I mean,
yeah, because Gordon Brown gave him total independence in 1997. There are still ways, politics is all about compromise. If you do this, we'll do that. But, we're living, as Tom alluded, we're living in an alternative Alice in Wonderland, Emperor's New Clothes universe. Even the mainstream media, every night, their economists go on television and say, we're fighting inflation. I mean, Economics for Dummies, Chapter 2, will show you don't raise interest rates. 2009, we had a similar situation. The Bank of England left interest rates alone at 0.5% for 3 years till they fell. Mm-hmm. We would have been out of this cost of living crisis long ago, but for Andrew Bailey. That's what I maintain. He should be shackled and put in stocks in the Royal Exchange in front of the Bank of England.
Oh, that might be a step too far, Roger.
Might be a step too far.
We'll not promote that.
No, absolutely.
Good to get your views.
But Nigel Farage, I think, could possibly. They are so bad. They are so desperate. Everything Tom Slater just said. They have no hope. If they have any sense at all, they will turn it over to Nigel, whose manifesto. And oh, by the way, he and Tyson, I know them all personally, but they are still going to be politicians, mm-hmm. and so I can't vouch for how they'll actually act once they're in office. But their ideas make a heck of a lot of sense compared to the other manifestos, and the Tories would do well, instead of disappearing to Mars, to combine with them and let Nigel and Richard and Ben Habib and David Bull run things. I know it's crazy. Call me a lunatic, but that's my prediction. 14 days.